The Dershow.
The Sean Combs case, P. Diddy. The jury did the right thing and the judge did the wrong thing. Not surprising. I have more faith in juries than I do in judges. The jury acquitted Sean Combs of the most serious charges, RICO violations. He's not a racketeer. Sexual trafficking. He wasn't trafficking. He wasn't sending people to other people for money. He wasn't sending 12-year-olds, to do terrible things for a profit. What he did was pretty awful, and his lawyers admitted it. But he was convicted essentially of just sex for money, not even money. It's just transactional sex. He wasn't convicted of anything non-consensual. He wasn't convicted of sex with a minor. He was convicted. It's as if, the conviction is a guy from New York meets a woman in a bar and says, "Hey, I know a great restaurant in New Jersey. Let's go to New Jersey." And while he's in the process of going to New Jersey, having just, asked her to come with him, he has in mind that he's going to pay for a really fancy meal with a really nice bottle of wine, $500 bill, and then she's going to sleep with him. Yeah, that would violate the Mann Act. If you cross state lines for an immoral purpose, and an immoral purpose includes having sex transactionally, or if you offer somebody, look, if you have sex with me, I'm a rock star, I'm a producer, I'm a rap person, but maybe I'll help you get a job. That's transactional sex. It treats the people who consent as not being adults. You don't have to accept it. You say no. I'm not going to take the job. But if you say yes, why is that a crime? It's not a crime. And so, in my view, this guy, who I sure wouldn't want him to date any of my friends, was convicted of something that's not a crime. 2 counts of interstate travel for immoral purposes, for purposes of engaging in prostitution. It wasn't even prostitution. It was, fancy living in exchange for sex. Look, he may have done other terrible things, but that's not what he was convicted of. And so this judge just now denied him bail. On what ground? This guy's not going to run anywhere. It's absurd. He has one of the nicest houses. I pass it by all the time. It's right near, not far from my little tiny condo in Miami, Florida. He lives on Star Island. His property is probably worth $40 or $50 million. I think he has 2 properties on the most expensive island, one of the most expensive islands in the world. He's one of the most recognizable people. This decision by this judge was just vindictive. He didn't like the verdict. He thought there should be a conviction. And so he's going to probably sentence him to a little bit of time in prison. He can't sentence him to a lot of time, but he'll probably sentence him to a little bit of time in prison, in excess of the year he's already spent for having had bail denied. And but he's going to do it. He's going to come up with some pretense. The appellate issues aren't good appellate. Yeah, they are good appellate issues. I can win this appeal. This is not a strong case. You don't get people convicted for consensual transactional sex. Moreover, what the jury saw was not traditional, transactional, conventional sex. It was videotapes of him beating up mercilessly his girlfriend. It's a terrible thing, but it's not relevant to whether he crossed state lines. What's relevant to whether he crossed state lines is a picture of him going through the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel or some other George Washington Bridge. That's the crime. The crime isn't beating anybody. He wasn't convicted of that. He was acquitted of anything involving violence, anything involving racketeering, anything involving sexual trafficking, all of that. He was acquitted. The jury didn't believe beyond a reasonable doubt the prosecution's case. The judge may have, but the jury didn't. You're not the 13th jury, Your Honor. You don't get to decide that he's guilty if the jury decides he's not guilty. And you don't get to decide it implicitly by denying him bail or denying him time served for his sentence. People don't go to jail for transactional sex, for voluntary, consensual sex based on the hope of getting an advantage. There is no such law. Maybe there should be, but there isn't. I don't think there should be, but there isn't. Adult women should not be treated like children. If they consented, that's the end of the matter. They consented. I don't care if they consented to help themselves. I don't care if this guy said, unless you consent, you'll never work in this business again. So you don't work in the business. That's all. That's not coercion. That's giving you a terrible choice. Again, this is not the mafia, but the Godfather. He may have made an offer they can't refuse, but they can refuse it. They can refuse it. They can say no. And there are some cases right now pending where the defense tried to put in evidence that some women said no, and the court said, no, we're not going to allow that evidence. Why not? Of course you allow in the evidence, because the fact that some women said no shows that the women who said yes did it volitionally and voluntarily. And so transactional sex is not an excuse. Now, people are going to say, oh, Dershowitz, he's saying this because he was accused. Of course I was accused falsely. And everybody now knows that. The woman who accused me, who committed suicide, has now admitted before she killed herself that she may have confused me with someone else. They have misidentified me. I never met her, never heard of her, never had sex with anybody other than my wife during the relevant time period. So I am completely, totally, categorically innocent. So I'm never going to let that influence my legal analysis. If you think I'm making this legal analysis to vindicate myself, no, you're wrong. I don't need to make a legal analysis to do that. I know, and anybody who's thoughtful knows that I was falsely accused. I've said that from day one. I proved it beyond any doubt by all my records and all my travel receipts and everything else. I don't have to prove anything else. But I still want to maintain the right to comment on public cases like the Combs case, where he never, ever, ever should have been charged for transactional, voluntary adult sex. That's not what we do in America. We can criticize you for that. You can condemn you. We can fire you. Maybe, I doubt it, you can bring a civil lawsuit. I don't think a civil lawsuit should succeed if a woman made a decision to engage in consensual sex because she thought she would lose an opportunity to become a rap singer or a film star if she didn't consent. That is not a crime. That's treating women like children. That's denying women agency. That's sexist. And it's wrong. It's wrong to put a woman in that position, sure, but being wrong doesn't make it a crime. People confuse that. This is not the heavenly court. In the heavenly court, Combs is going to be asked, if there is a heavenly court, did you coerce women into having sex with you because you said they wouldn't get a job as a rap singer as part of your group? Yeah, wow, that's not good. You might have to go to hell instead of heaven. Leave that to God. Leave that to priests, to ministers, to rabbis. Leave it to your mother. But don't bring it to court. Those aren't cases. Those are not civil cases. They're not criminal cases. They're not cases. The law should have nothing to do with consensual transactional sex of the kind that he was convicted of. And that's what, remember, what he was convicted of was transporting. I don't know what that means, transporting. I took my wife to New Jersey several times from New York. Actually, she drove. So maybe she transported me for improper purposes. But who thinks that taking somebody from New Jersey to New York, New York to New Jersey, for purposes of having consensual voluntary sex should be a federal crime? I don't care if you're a liberal or conservative, if you're a man or a woman, if you're a feminist or a sexist. That's just not an appropriate subject for the courts.